Thank you, Anna-Kristina. I will not give a brief two-row presentation of all the cooperations projects. That's hopeless within the limited time frame I have. Instead, I've decided to put focus on what may the future needs for cooperation be, because that may be more interesting. I will address cooperation. The green one? Yeah. I will address cooperation along three axes: the Norwegian cooperation with the USA, Canada, South America and Caribbean, and Africa. And the primary Norwegian approach is that cooperation should, as far as possible, be built on existing structures. One of the challenges to science is the building of new bureaucracy that takes care of what is called reporting and control. And we may have passed the point where this is not producing science, but hampering science. With USA and Canada, we find some major areas for cooperation, but the research collaboration in fisheries and marine science has a very long and successful history. Most of this collaboration has occurred between NOAA and IMR in Norway, but of course there are a lot of other research institutions, universities, institutes that has done this cooperation. We have formalized it in agreement for cooperation in fisheries and related research, signed by directors of Alaska Fisheries Science, part of NOAA, and director of Institute of Marine Research, as well as we have done it with DFO. While the cooperation initially focused on gadoids in certain North Atlantic and North Pacific marine ecosystems, mutual interests in many research areas soon became apparent. These include acoustics and other advanced sampling techniques, ocean acidification, toxicology, and oil spill response, marine mammals, fish and invertebrate survey methodology and design, catch, bycast estimation, fishing gear technology, and so on, and so on, and so on. Also fishery-independent and fishery-dependent data. That is a challenge that needs to be exploited throughout at least Europe, because there are a huge amount of data that can be collected from fisheries. And today, three areas in particular stand out as avenues for further cooperation. Technology development as one. Current undertakings concentrate on development and implementation of horizontal sonar and broadband acoustics in marine ecosystems. Future developments will certainly include platform technologies, AUVs, drones, buoys, satellites, etc., as well as observatory technology supporting more automatic and cost-efficient data collection regime. And that's needed to support the increasing demand for integrated collection of ecosystem information and in support of management advice. Also, we see that ecosystem-based management of marine environment and integrated assessment of ecosystem status will be a key area of current cooperation and future cooperation. The focus should be on three key areas: governance of existing and developing ecosystem-based management processes and spatial plans, scientific knowledge-based tools and methods for integrated ecosystem assessment, future science and governance developments answering the challenges of climate change and globalization. And it's important for me to underline the fact that sea bottom and seabed mapping and habitat mapping is a key issue in this area. I would refer to the program, which you can find on www.mariano.no, which demonstrates fully what we have done in Norway. Further questions could be raised to Dr. Paul Bull Mortensen, who's sitting over there. Please stand up, Paul. Show yourself. Who's the father of this program in Norway. As important, the recent climate change on fisheries is also an area of common concern to our scientists. How does large-scale physical changes affect the biology of living marine resources? What are the consequences of climate change? And what can we expect to see in marine productivity of marine and coastal habitats? This is important as we have to feed the growing population of the world with resources from our beautiful marine environment. What science and efforts currently needed and required for providing reliable assessment of these? An important recent development in the cooperation among scientific institutions is the 5 coastal states to the Arctic Ocean, addressing questions relating to a potential emergence of commercial fisheries in the Central Arctic Ocean, and so on. There's been a lot of meetings, and actually one that's been carried out this week in Seattle among the 5 coastal states, and was organized by NOAA, asking question on how should we cooperate in fisheries in the Arctic. Quite interesting. Furthermore, with the United States assuming the chair of Arctic Council, new opportunities for enhancing this cooperation arises. The strategic plan from the Arctic Council addresses both short-term and long-term challenges and opportunities. And they have done a strategic work, which there are 40 strategic actions actually, comprised under 4 strategic goals. Goal 1, improve the knowledge of the Arctic marine environment and continue to monitor and assess current and future impacts of Arctic marine ecosystem. Conserve and protect ecosystems function and marine biodiversity. Promote safe and sustainable use of marine environment. Enhance the economic, social and cultural well-being of Arctic inhabitants. On the aquaculture, it was quite interesting to sit here yesterday and learn all about the activity taking part on aquaculture, realizing that as far as I've been able to check out from yesterday up until today, there have been few contact towards Norway. It may well be that we are not considered to be an important player in aquaculture, but we honestly believe we have some kind of knowledge, and we would more than dearly like to participate in these processes. So that's a challenge given to all of you. And we think that the exchange of personnel is always important. We think, going back to aquaculture, exchanging personnel and seeing what are they doing in different countries may increase the knowledge, increase the impact of science within management, because the challenge in aquaculture is mainly a managerial challenge. What are the carrying capacity of the ecosystem? What are the capacity or impact that the people are willing to accept on the footprint of aquaculture? Nowhere else in any other industry are you able to deliver anything without the human footprint. What the acceptance of that footprint in aquaculture. And this should be done by international standards, utilizing ICES and ICES Dialogue Conference on Aquaculture, which will take place on the 1st and 2nd of June in Bergen, Norway. That can be an arena. What we also see is that I would like to go back to Mike and Cisco's presentation and imagine a dream that we should be able to carry out on a routine basis, maybe each 5th or 10th year, a cross-Atlantic survey, international composed, checking out bottom habitat, checking out what's in the water column, checking out habitats, checking out fish status. Building on Eurobasing, building on Newfoundland and MI's cross-Atlantic cruise. We would dearly like to participate and are more than willing to take a leading role on part of that. But the answer may be to develop Eurobasin as a key foot. But imagine if we could do that from the Caribbean, all along the east coast of US and Canada, across the Atlantic, north and south. That would give us the detailed data we need to be able to predict. And we need to start the long traumatic work to build time series on this. We can choose not to, our children and grandchildren will ask us, why didn't you? And that's a key question. So we think in Norway that we should build on ISAS. Alan showed this slide yesterday, I think, and I've just put up some, not entirely fulfilling it, but put up some of the working groups that's working in these areas. So the structure is there. It's up to us how we utilize it. Now I will move a little bit south of the North Atlantic. And in Cuba, Norway has done for years a bilateral cooperation between Cuba and Norway for development and capacity building in numeric models. This is a key project, and we think it may continue. Further questions on that project and how we work with Cuba could be raised to Dr. Alan Moxnes. Please stand up, Alan, show yourself. He's been the headmaster of this project for years and also the one who will bring it further on. We have a research cooperation with Brazil and several African coastal states. I will mention here, led from Brazil, the ongoing South Atlantic Mareco project, which explores the marine life along the Mid-Atlantic Ridge and the Walrus and Rio Grande ridges, but also we have started a cooperation on starting up aquaculture in Brazil. We hope that we will be able to do more with that. We have the Center for Development Cooperation in Fisheries, started in 1973, I think, and we are now in a new program phase, which will go from 2016 to 2020. Fish resources will still be the key, still central, but we have a wider scope, including monitoring the state and marine ecosystem biodiversity, acidification, and impacts of climate change. You see, we put focus on capture fisheries, environment, aquaculture, but again, the key issue is and will be policy and management training. And because that's how things really are taken care of. What we try to do is, we have a conceptual framework, sustainable fisheries, impact from pollutants, climate change impacts, and we will also see that if you look into this model, you will find a rather large recognition factor with the way that ISAS are working. And remember, ISAS has been developed since 1902. There are some knowledge and some experience based in that organization, and it should be utilized maybe more than we do today. So what we are trying to do in the new Nansen program, it's run by FAO. And what we try to do is to identify and take on board potential stakeholder and beneficiaries and partners, national, regional, and global. So feel free, contact us, and we'll see what we can work out, because this is an important issue. Today, it's working in and around Africa, moving slowly over to Asia, and we are hoping to cut across the Atlantic to the South America. Another project which I would like to put forward is the NANSCLIM project. It's the climate effect on biodiversity, and it identifies and described possible trends in ocean climate and corresponding changes in marine biodiversities and fisheries, first of all in the Benguela current system or large marine ecosystem. And what we see here is the way they are working along it, a better understanding of the effects of climate change and variability on the marine ecosystem within this region. We are trying to build regional competence building. And as one of the earlier presentations today said, the cooperation between Brazil and this part of the Atlantic Ocean is of vital importance. Obviously, there is an interest of cooperation that can be utilized. And it's entirely up to us how and what we are going to do. We estimate from Norway, pending on approval from the Norwegian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Norwegian Directorate of Development Help, we have a period which will go, we think, from 2015 up to 2018, from the autumn this year. We have approximate 18 million Norwegian kroners. That should equivalent approximately 8.5 million euros. And we have a lot of partners in Angola, Namibia, South Africa, the Benguela Current Commission, but obviously there are places for more people on board, because this is cross-Atlantic and important science. So, thank you very much for listening to me.